Hi everyone, Miki Jacobs again, part 2 of an incarnation. We moved to the shade, seem a bit more comfortable. So to recap real quick the part 1 as to I explain what's an incarnation, meaning it's a program that designed to help the soul to come on planet Earth in a human form, which also is chosen by the soul, of course. Every lifetime, one after one after one, one after the other, in order to experience life on planet Earth, which is a dense planet, which is a very difficult planet. But the soul like it because through challenges, through loss and divorce and illness and death and birth and family, the soul is able to grow rapidly. So that's really the basic of an incarnation. So it's important to understand that, because if you are truly working on your spiritual awareness and accept that fact, then you will be able to disconnect yourself, or rather distance yourself a little bit when time is hard, when life is hard, because you will keep in the back of your mind that your challenges are indeed designed there for you to grow, which is the concept of spiritual growth, obviously. Now, that's by itself, 20 minutes, half hour of video by itself is not going to work. Obviously, this is just a jump start of understanding the topic of an incarnation as to why life is hard, why sometimes there is an illness out from the blue. People come to me and they're ill and they were healthy and they have no genetic disposition, and they say, Miki, why am I ill? So when I present the perspective of the soul, or sometimes people come to me in a reading and I'm able to tell if it is indeed part of the incarnation blueprint, as I explained to you, meaning the detail, then I can see there is a sense of relief. So again, this is a jump start for you to look at life from the spiritual perspective. So illness is just one example that we gave. Also, the soul also designed as to when we exit planet Earth, when we die, how we die, to the precise moment is pre-designed by the soul. So over the years, I came across people that have a hard time with that. Of course, they get scared for their kids. They don't want to die. Miki, when am I going to die? Which, of course, that's not my thing to predict that. But nonetheless, the soul design when to exit. Why is it? Because the incarnation is very detail-oriented, and sometimes soul, us, human souls, when we come to planet Earth, we kind of pack a lot of one incarnation, and at the age of 50, let's just say as an example, the soul is done. You know, so I actually came across a spirit that never come to planet Earth more than the age of 56. That is the preference of the soul. Life is hard here. I mean, you know, look at us. I mean, 80 years in this planet is pretty harsh. So to us, to the mind, to the ego, no, Miki, I want to live till 90. But that's the way the mind is. It's supposed to preserve itself and protect itself, which why the body always fight to survive, because it's flesh and blood. But it's up to the soul. And if the soul designed 50 years or 80 years, that is when we cross over. Now, very important, being said that does not mean there are not accidents, which why I always tell people, value your incarnation, meaning your life. If you drive like a maniac in the freeway, you're gonna die. And you will kill someone else, which is much worse. Why is that? Because we have free will. So it's kind of a paradox, and I understand that people get confused, because in one hand I teach people in my spiritual teaching that it is pre-designed by the soul. At the other hand, I kind of teach people that you have to value life. I mean, I channel a lot of spirits that the ego, unfortunately, caused them to kill themselves, or drink to death, or mix pills, or drive fast, or were reckless with some sort of an accident, and they die prematurely of what it is the soul planned. So let me explain that paradox, as I call it, because it's important. The soul will put in detail the main event, meaning when we're going to be born, significant others, if they're family, friends, intimate lover. Divorce sometimes is pre-designed by the soul, even if we don't think so. We think, oh, it's his fault or her fault. It's not. A lot of time, relationship just finish, so that's pre-designed. Time of birth, when we arrive to planet Earth, is very important to the soul, which has to do close contact to astrology, as to why a soul got into planet Earth to the precise moment as to where it chooses to. It has to do with the sign and the stars and such, as to what lesson it's supposed to learn and what opportunity it has. So, and the time of death, as I say, is pre-designed by the soul. But we're not machines. We're human beings, and we have God's gift to us, which is free will, which I will discuss in another topic. So if we're reckless, if we choose to use our free will in a reckless ways or in not a wise way, we will die. And there is nothing our guardian angel, which are the beings that protect us on planet Earth, can do. So what's happened when something like, unfortunately, like that happened? Let's say Miki have 80 years here. Let's just say. And then my ego take over and I become an addict. Just an example, obviously. And I'm reckless and I die young. That wasn't my time to go. But I chose that. I chose that. So, meaning the ego got too negative and life became too hard. And I looked outward to some fix, which what's happened with addicts. So, although I meant to live 80 years, let's say I cut my life short in 20 years. So, what's happened in that? Even that is indeed an opportunity for the soul to grow. So what's happened in this incident, as I just said, the person would die because the ego decided to be reckless. The soul would cross over younger, and that experiences would be reviewed by the soul in between life, which call life review. Literally, that is how it's called. When we cross over, the soul review the life that it just lived and kind of see, or rather examine, what did it learn, what it didn't learn, especially if the example I just gave you about suicide, what led for the personality, for the ego to cause itself to cut their life short. So all that gonna be reviewed by the soul, and of course gonna be carefully examined and be included in the next lifetime, or rather the next incarnation, in order to try it again. So the point of all that the main event, as I said, are pre-designed, but we have free will. It is up to us to grow spiritually. What does that mean, besides knowing the concept and meditate? It's mean value life. It's mean kind of open a channel. Remember when I talked to you about meditation, that you open a channel? It's mean that when you grow spiritually, when you improve himself, not necessarily just spiritually, improving yourself, be a better human being, value the body, understand the importance of the physical body, sharpen your mind, discipline the ego, if it's spirituality or if it's true therapy. Either way, it's called spiritual growth. So when you do that, when you use your free will wisely, which your soul would kind of push you towards that, it would push you towards becoming a good human being. Again, unfortunately, there is an ego personality that would give you the fight of its life. So the point is that as you grow, as you kind of listen to your intuitive feeling, we all know the basic, because we all have the higher self, meaning the energy that resides in the body while we're on earth. So we know what we're supposed to do, but sometimes we don't do that. So if we don't do that, we delay the process of the soul to grow. The incarnation might not quite go where it's supposed to do. We're gonna have detour, as I like to call it, meaning instead of the soul climbing up from one event to another, from one purpose to another like it's planned, it would take detour. Hopefully we will come back to the way the incarnation is supposed to unfold. For example, obviously, I drifted away from my journey. Of course, everyone does. We're human beings. So for many years, I was a businesswoman. I ignored the intuition of my soul as to what it is I'm supposed to do from planet Earth. Luckily, I listened to my intuition and I act on it and I grew and I advanced myself way before I call myself a medium. I'm talking here 20 years. So, and then I listen. So the detour that my life took about if it's ego of weaknesses in relationship of myself or taking care of the body start to come back as to where my incarnation is supposed to continue, which is why I was able to successfully achieve what it is I'm doing right now. So the point is I want you to understand that because I said everything is pre-designed by the soul, that's not what I mean that you can just sit and do nothing. Obviously, those are just opportunities or kind of like, pinpoint as to where the soul knows that it's going to go in a certain incarnation. So I'm running out of time again because it's kind of limited time, but I probably going to do an incarnation. No, I will. I'm going to do an incarnation part 3 where I'm going to sum it up for you guys that you actually understand everything I say despite my English. And hopefully you're going to apply it to your life, which what it is I aim is for you to learn and to listen and to grow and to apply it to your life. So I'll see you in a minute. Probably stay in the same location. It's kind of nice and breezy in here. And I'll talk to you then. Thanks a lot. Bye.